Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Oh.
We're here to cut through the noise on big global events.
Yep, get you properly informed.
And today, we're really diving into those recent U.S. airstrikes, the ones on the 3 Iranian nuclear sites.
Big news.
Huge. We've pulled together info from, well, quite a range of sources. You've got The Times, The Guardian, AP News, Politico, Washington Post, and some factual references too.
Right, and our mission really is to get past just the headlines. We want to give you a clearer picture of the immediate effects and, the bigger strategic fallout from all this.
Okay, so what's the basic scene?
Well, the initial reports, they all point to these strikes being launched in direct support of Israel.
Okay.
And they used a fleet of B-2 stealth bombers loaded with those massive ordnance penetrators, the MOPs.
The bunker busters.
Exactly, the bunker busters. And sources are saying they caused, quote, extremely severe damage to Iran's uranium enrichment infrastructure.
And President Trump confirmed this pretty quickly, didn't he?
He did. Stated the U.S. had hit key facilities and crucially added that warning.
The many targets remain warning.
Yeah. If Iran doesn't seek peace.
But hang on, the Pentagon also said this wasn't about regime change, right? How do those two things square up? The targeted strike versus the president's, broader warning.
That's a really key question. Look, Pentagon's stated aim was surgical, right? Target the nuclear program specifically. But President Trump's language, it definitely broadens the horizon. It implies, a wider potential scope for future action.
Creating a kind of tension.
A fascinating tension, exactly, between the immediate military goal and this bigger strategic message. And you can bet Iran heard that broader threat loud and clear.
And this wasn't just symbolic.
Oh, not at all. The reports of extremely severe damage, especially from those bunker busters, it suggests they really hit hard. This probably forces Iran to rethink not just their capabilities, but maybe even the basic safety assumptions they had about those deep underground sites.
Right. Let's break down the damage site by site to really get a handle on it. Fordo, for example, we know it's buried deep.
Super deep.
Yet officials are talking about extensive power outages and structural damage from, 14 GBU-57 bombs dropped by B-2s?
That's the report. 14 of those massive penetrators. It really shows the capability to reach deep targets.
Astonishing. What about Natanz?
Natanz, the pilot fuel enrichment plant there seems to have been hit very hard. Destroyed centrifuges, power systems knocked out.
And we have visual confirmation.
Apparently so. Satellite images reportedly show craters right above where the underground cascade halls are. It speaks to the precision.
And it wasn't just Fordo and Natanz. Isfahan was hit too.
Yes, the nuclear technology center there. That includes facilities for uranium conversion, fuel fabrication.
So multiple stages of the nuclear fuel cycle targeted.
Seems like a comprehensive effort against the program itself, which aligns with that Pentagon statement you mentioned earlier.
The one saying not regime change.
Exactly. They tried to be very specific. This is about the nuclear program. It's fascinating how they attempted to draw that line.
But Iran's reaction, it wasn't exactly measured, was it?
No, swift and strong. Officials calling it crossing a red line.
And the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard.
They issued that warning, saying U.S. bases across the region are now potential targets. That's a significant verbal escalation, whatever the U.S. intent was.
Definitely raises the temperature.
One crucial detail, though, amidst all this damage reporting.
Yes.
No reported increase in radiation levels, no offsite contamination detected so far.
That's important. It suggests the strikes, while destructive, were contained to the facilities themselves.
It seems that way, yes.
Yeah.
Avoided a wider environmental or health disaster, which is obviously a good thing.
Meanwhile, internationally, what's the buzz?
A lot of calls for calm, especially from U.S. allies, pushing for immediate talks, de-escalation, trying to stop things from spiraling further. Diplomacy is being urged.
Okay, so looking ahead.
Yeah.
What are the next moves we should be watching for?
Well, from Iran's side, potential responses are key. We could see things like missile attacks, maybe, or proxy group actions targeting U.S. interests.
In places like Iraq, or maybe the Gulf bases.
Those are the typical flashpoints, yes. It's their usual playbook for retaliation.
And diplomatically.
We might see emergency meetings, perhaps at the UN or the IAEA, the nuclear watchdog.
And European countries trying to mediate.
Very likely. They're already pushing to get those diplomatic channels back open to try and manage this whole situation.
What about the impact on Iran's actual nuclear program? You said severe damage.
Yes, analysts are suggesting this could set back their enrichment work by, say, several months. That's the immediate tactical impact.
The long term.
Well, this is where it gets interesting. It might not deter them. In fact, it could do the opposite.
How so?
This kind of pressure could push them to accelerate efforts, maybe in more hidden, dispersed locations, make their program harder to track, harder to hit in the future, almost like a strategic adaptation out of, well, defiance or perceived necessity.
So it could make monitoring even tougher down the line.
Potentially, yes. Connect this to the bigger picture. It's a classic security dilemma. Action meets reaction.
So wrapping this up, what does this all really mean for you, our listener, trying to understand where things might go next?
Well, I think one takeaway is just how fast global dynamics can shift. Even these supposedly targeted actions, they ripple outwards in complex ways. It's rarely just one move and done.
Absolutely. And it really brings up a fundamental question, doesn't it? How do nations actually balance taking assertive action, like these strikes, with the absolute need to prevent things escalating unintentionally?
Especially when you're talking about critical infrastructure, nuclear programs. The stakes are just incredibly high.
Exactly. How do you manage that risk? It's a tough calculation.
It certainly is. Something to keep thinking about. We encourage you, as always, to continue your own deep dives into these complex events shaping our world.
Stay informed.
Until next time.